Welcome to today's installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. The reason why I've decided to make a video about tires in particular is inflation of tires is because as somebody who, works on cars at a dealership and, at least once a day, every day, I come across at least one car where the tire pressures are just outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. There are a lot of people out there who do not understand or know how to properly inflate their tire pressures to the correct tire pressure rating. And we're going to go into that a little bit. I just, like I said, I see it all the time, and I just feel compelled to make a video about it, honestly, because it could be a safety issue if your tires are not inflated to the proper tire pressure rating. So I have 4 cars here. Let's go around and look at something that all these cars have in common, and I'm going to tell you where a lot of people go wrong on this. We'll look at the Fiesta tires first because they're the newest. But anyway, so the sidewall of the tire provides a lot of useful information. Tire pressure, the size of the tire. If they're directional tires like these are, it'll say whether this is the inside or outside. This is the outside. Obviously, tire name, brand, when the tire was manufactured down here. But also, if we look over here, it says max inflation pressure, 51 psi. So these tires have a maximum pressure rating of 51 psi. Let's go look at the sub. So this one says maximum pressure of 44 psi. Let's look at the Grand Am. Maximum tire pressure 50 psi. Let's look at the Civic. Maximum pressure 51 psi. So I've got 2 cars here in the driveway that have tires on them that say the maximum pressure of the tire is 51 psi. I've got 1 car that says the maximum tire pressure is 50 psi. And I've got another that says the maximum tire pressure is 44 psi. Does that mean those tires should be either 44, 50, or 51 pounds? No, that is not what that means. A lot of people, when inflating their tires, I think, either try to visually see that their tire is not flat, because I think a lot of people think the tire should be perfectly, almost, perfect curve when it's on the ground, and that's not true. It's going to have a little bit of a flatness because of obviously the weight of the car. So I think a lot of people inflate their tires because they think there shouldn't be that flat spot on the ground. But also, when they look at their tires and they see, oh, it says here that the tire should be 51 pounds. No, that is not how you properly inflate your tire. Let's take a look at what the proper inflation of these cars are supposed to be. Every car on the driver's door jamb, or maybe even on the door itself, has a sticker with the tire loading and loading information, because each sticker pertains to the exact car that the sticker goes onto. Each car is designed differently, It all depends on a few things. Wheel size, the type of car that it is. So for example, these tires said that the max pressure was 51 pounds per square inch. Let's see exactly what the tire pressure should be set to on this car. Tire size front and rear, 35 pounds per square inch. 35 psi. That's what this particular Fiesta is supposed to be set to. Let's go look at the Saab. The Saab tires said a max pressure of 44 pounds. But again, tire size front and rear, 35 pounds. Let's take a look at the Grand Am. So the Grand Am sticker is actually one of the ones on the door itself. So these said max pressure of 50. So again, front and rear tire sizes, 30 psi is what both of these tires should be rated or set to. The Civic said max pressure of 51. Tire size front and rear same, 32 pounds both front and rear. Those stickers are what you should be looking at when you are inflating your tires. Different variations of cars may require a different pressure. Now, for example, my wife's Fiesta says 35 pounds, but my sister's Fiesta, if I'm not mistaken, I think is supposed to be 32, because on her particular Fiesta, it could be because hers is a hatchback. It could also be because her tires are a different size than what the ones over here on my wife's car are. So it's going to vary. And that's why it is very important when you're doing a tire inflation, when you're checking your tires or you're adding tire pressure, always go off of what the door jamb says. Don't go by what the maximum pressure of the tire is allowed to have. So, why is tire pressure all that important? Well, for starters, tire pressure is important because your overall tire health has to stay in check. Tires are very important in general. They are the only thing that come in contact between your car and the road. Nothing else on your car is on the ground, or shouldn't be on the ground, other than your tires. So you have to make sure that your tires are always set to the proper inflation. Always make sure that the tread is in good health, that your tread depth is good. You also want to make sure that your tires are wearing okay. Because if you have poor tires, poor inflation, whether you're overinflated or underinflated, could be a major safety issue. Major safety issue. Tire pressure has a lot to play also in how the car is supposed to handle, how the car is supposed to ride as far as being comfortable or, for a softer ride or a harsher ride. I don't know. Depends on the car, obviously. But, tire pressure is definitely an important factor when it comes to safety and keeping your tires in good health. So if you have a tire that is overinflated, if you look at the front of the tire, like if we were looking at, here, we'll do it like this. So here's our ground. And if you have a tire that is overinflated, it's going to kind of balloon a little bit. And then here's, our tread. So the sidewalls of the tire are going to be kind of ballooned out if your tire is overinflated. And if your tire is overinflated like that and not corrected, again, it could be a safety issue as far as traction, because you're not going to have all of the traction that's going to be needed for your vehicle to handle correctly. And long-term tire overinflation is going to end up wearing down. Oh, this orange is not as good as I thought. But it's going to kind of wear down the middle portion of your tire tread. This isn't good at all. I thought this was a new marker. What? There's no... Okay, you get my point. But the middle part of your tread is going to end up wearing a lot faster than the sides. And that in itself could be an issue. If you have a tire that's underinflated, you're going to have a tire that kind of looks like this. Whoop. So this here, this base here, that's air. That's a gap between the road and the tire. There's no tread contact there at all, or very little tread contact there because your tire is underinflated or going flat. So this part here, the very bottom of the tire, won't be making as much contact with the road as it should be. Whereas your sidewall, the edges of the sidewalls are going to start making more contact with the road than the actual, whole part of the tire will. So that means your sidewalls, your very edge of the sidewalls, all of this here, all of this side of your tires are going to start wearing more than the middle. And again, that's also bad. You want to try to keep even tire wear on your vehicles, and that consists of proper tire inflation, proper alignments, definitely making sure you have the correct size tires on your car. That's, all that goes into factor when it comes to good tire health and safety. So tire pressure is very important. I hope my poorly drawn illustrations kind of gave you guys some perspective of what I'm trying to talk about. Do not 100% trust your tire pressure monitor warning light. If the little orange warning light shaped like this comes on, it's supposed to indicate that you have a tire that is below tire pressure. Every car might be different. It might depend on how low each tire is going to be, or how the system picks up different tire pressures or speed ratings. But never 100% wait for this light to come on. Obviously, if this light comes on when you have a safe chance to do so, check to make sure your tires are 100% where they should be. And other than that, like I said, there may be chances where your tire can be flat or going low, and this light may not even come on. So these are helpful warning lights to have, but I would not 100% wait for a light to come on to know if your tire is going low or not. So it helps to have the tires checked regularly. Another thing about the tire pressure warning lights is if you have a system that what they call direct TPMS, that means each tire has an individual sensor mounted in it somewhere, usually on the back of the valve stem. And those sensors do go bad. They have watch batteries in them. And a watch battery has a pretty good life expectancy, years, many years, but they die. And if a battery and a sensor dies, you're going to have a TPMS light that usually will flash for a minute or so once the car's turned on, and then it stays on. It stays on steady because there's an issue with the system. So for one, you're not going to know unless you have a car that has actual individual readings. You're not going to know where your tires are sitting if you have a faulty TPMS system. Because if you have a light that just stays on, obviously the main reason is because the system has a dead sensor somewhere. But you're not going to know if your tires are ever flat because the light's always on. So it's very wise to check the pressures regularly. If you have a car that has an actual display where it'll show you what each tire is reading at, again, helpful, but don't 100% rely on that. Go to the stem with an actual gauge and measure what your tires are. What if it's, warm out like today? Yeah. So tire pressure's okay if it's a little over what the door says, and that's usually because of temperature changes. So my tires right now, cold, could read 32 pounds, which is what it should be. And once I hit the road and all the friction against the road and today's hot temperature and all of that, it's going to naturally make the air in the tire expand. So yeah, my tires on the road once I'm driving could be like 34 or 35 pounds. And that's not terrible. That's not bad. That's normal. But for crying out loud, if you fill your tires up to like 51 psi, cold, and then you hit the road, all of us, your tire is now at, 55, 56 psi after driving. And not only are you killing your tread, but you're expanding that tire past its safe pressure. You could have a blowout. Who knows what could happen. So definitely, again, wise to keep a good eye on your tire pressures manually and make sure that is where your tires are supposed to be. So I guess one more thing I want to hit about while we're talking about tires is making sure that you have the proper size tire on the car, because yes, it is possible to match the rim size with any tire, but as mentioned on this door jamb, you want to make sure that you have the correct tire, not only for inflation purposes, but because if that is the size tire that is on your door placard, then that is what this particular vehicle was designed to have. So let's take a little in-depth look at what tire size means. And actually, a good example would have been when I bought the Grand Am, before I went and found some gently used tires at the junkyard to put on that car. That car had 4 wrong size tires. The tires were actually slightly bigger, slightly thicker, as far as the aspect ratio. It was a thicker tire than what was supposed to be on a GT Grand Am. So that would have been a good example. Hey, this is the tire size for the Civic. P215 55 R16 93H. Is that going to go off the entire time that I'm talking about this? I think it's coming from my neighbor's garage. Oh, thank you. The P in this instance stands for passenger. That means the type of vehicle that this is obviously a passenger vehicle. Matter of fact, the other 3 cars, they're all P's. They all have a P at the beginning of their tire size. So they are all passenger tires. If you have a tire that says LT on the front of this, that means it's a light truck tire. Very important to pay attention to make sure you have the right kind of tire to begin when you are shopping for tires and whatnot. Obviously, an LT tire is not going to work on this car. It's a passenger tire. The 215 is going to be the actual tread width of the tire itself. Tread width, that's going to be from here to here. 215. The tread width is measured in millimeters. So 215 millimeters is the width of my tire. The next set of numbers here is the 55. That is what they call the aspect ratio of the tire. And it is measured as a percentage. So 55 is going to mean that it's 55% as high as the tire is wide. So this, again, was the width of the tire, the actual tread. And the aspect ratio is from here to here. And that, is 55% of what our actual width of the tire is. 55%. And that makes sense if you actually look at it visually. That looks like it could be about, 55%. The R is going to stand for, in this case, radial. That would be the construction type of tire that it is. Most tires, I do believe, are radials nowadays. You might have one that says D. That means it's a diagonal ply tire, not a radial construction. And the 16 should be pretty obvious. That is the actual wheel size itself. In this case, 16-inch wheel. From there to there, 16 inches. The last two figures that are on these particular tires, the 93 is going to be what they call the load index. So it's a weight, and it's going to, each tire is rated for a specific weight limit, obviously. So there's a chart that you can look up, and I looked up this one here. So our load index on our tires for the Civic says 93, and that means 1,433 pounds. And the H at the very end is what they call the speed rating. So each tire obviously has a specific speed rating. You're not going to put this tire on a frickin' Lamborghini or Ferrari, because the tire that's on this car cannot handle what the maximum speed of a Ferrari or Lamborghini would be. So this says H. So the fastest that these tires can go safely, 130 miles an hour. So the tires on this car can go up to 130 miles an hour. I want to say safely, but 130 is probably not that safe anyway. But I'm sure if you tried to push the tires to go faster than 130, they're going to start, either explode or they're going to shred or something. So 130 miles an hour is what my tires are safely rated up to. That's tire size. Hopefully that helped anybody who may have always kind of wondered what the tire size means. That's all I'm going to share in today's vlog about tires. My main focus, obviously, of this video was to talk about how to properly maintain and inflate or deflate your tires. Always pay attention to what the tire pressure says on the door placard. Never go by what the maximum pressure rating of the tire is. Regularly check your tires. Don't always trust the little orange warning light for your TPMS. And always make sure that your car is equipped with the tires that were that car was specifically designed to have. That's it. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Check out teespring.com/store/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and vlog merchandise. That is all that I've got for today. So I will see you guys next time. Again, thank you so much for watching. Take care.